Is the Porsche Macan really a true Porsche? You can get one of these for so cheap these days. How good could it really be? Since I happen to own a Macan and a 911 at the moment, I can give you the real truth. So let's dive both into the 911 and Macan and find out whether or not the Macan really does capture the essence of a Porsche. At first glance, the Macan is unmistakably a Porsche. It's got the headlights, the design. People think this car is way more expensive than it is. Nobody realizes how much these things have depreciated. You can buy one for the price of a Honda Civic. This beautiful 2016 Macan looks like it was built yesterday and is cheaper to buy than a Toyota RAV4. But just because it looks Porsche, does that mean that it's a real Porsche? The 911, of course, is the ultimate Porsche. In fact, every time you hear the word Porsche, you automatically think of a 911. Everybody wants one of these, and the used Porsche 911 market is crazy. The demand is so high, and used prices are equally as high. Mine is a 2013 stick-shift Porsche 911, and you wouldn't believe what I had to go through just to be able to buy one. Watch this video where I talk about it all. I can't believe how much the Macans have depreciated. A 911 of a similar year would be at least 3 times as much as a used Macan, if not more. With the used 911, you can buy and sell one and not lose any money, and if you get lucky, you could even make money. With the Macan, depreciation knows no bounds. Just wait a couple of years and buy one of these for $5,000. The crazy thing is, after driving my 911 for some time now, the Macan impresses me even more. I've already made tons of videos about how good the Macan really is. Driving the 911 and the Macan back to back, I still like getting into the Macan, which tells you something about how good the Porsche Macan is. And to think you can buy a Macan for cheaper than a new Hyundai Kona. For a 4-door SUV, the driving position couldn't be any better. You're seated at the perfect ride height. The ergonomics are great. You're greeted with this very nice steering wheel. The seats are nice and snug. All you need to do is twist this fake key that's always sitting here and hear this thing come to life. Everything about the Macan feels like a sports sedan. It might not look like one, but it sure does drive like one. It's a sports sedan with plenty of room to carry all of your things and people around. You get in the 911 and it fits like a glove. The legendary 911, the benchmark for performance and precision. It's what every other car manufacturer wishes they could live up to. Inside the 911, there is no waste. It's a little on the tighter side. There is a passenger seat, but you don't really need a passenger. I highly recommend that you leave the passenger seat empty because having somebody here will only cramp your style. To really enjoy the 911, it has to be you as a driver and this car. Before anybody gets into the passenger seat, just quickly slam the door shut. Much better. It's now just you and your everyday supercar, the 911. One of the things I really love about the 911 is how low the steering wheel gets. You can't even tilt it up that high. In true sports car fashion, it's right in front of you, completely parallel. The center console layout is simple. The button feel and the switches, it's almost exactly the same as the Macan. Of course, in the Macan, you have button mania. You don't have any of that in the 911, which is a good thing. The 911 is more on the minimalist side, but mine comes with the essentials like heated and cool seats. I have enough luxury and features in this 911 to make it just right. The 911 really is a purpose-built sports car. Knowing that you get all this for so cheap is incredible. The Macan is luxurious, great for families and kids. I love the suspension on this. Even though I don't have air suspension, the Macan easily soaks up all the bumps on the road. And on road trips, on long drives, this thing is completely undisturbed, so stable. You actually don't even know how fast you're going until you look at the speedometer, and then you wonder why nobody's pulled you over yet. And then it's got these giant cup holders, which I love and I've talked about so many times. This is one practical Porsche. It's got all the Porsche goodness in it with a healthy dose of practicality slapped on top of it. The 911, of course, has none of that. That car is anything but practical. There is one big problem with my 911 though. The door panel trim is starting to come off, which is a known problem with these cars. I can't believe that this is a problem. These cars are so expensive and the door panels feels like they were built by Chevy. Luckily in the Macan, the door panel is still intact and the interior trim appears to be holding up, except the headliner is sagging. It's actually happening in the Porsche 911 too. I guess some of these things are unavoidable in cars that are more than 10 years old. What I've noticed with both the 911 and the Macan is that even though the cars are old and have many thousands of miles on them, the driving experience is still intact. Here's what I mean by that. Typically with older used cars, you feel the age. They feel worn out, especially cars that are more than a decade old. The 911 and Macan feel completely different. They feel nearly perfect. They feel much newer. The 911 is so supremely stable. The steering feel is absolutely solid. There's no vibrations, no shakes. My 12-year-old 911 has a buttery smooth driving experience even with 60,000 miles on it. Nothing feels like it's about to break. You feel completely confident pushing it. Extremely solid and so well built. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to hear rattles on the inside. Plastic has a limited shelf life, and as old as these cars are, don't expect everything to be holding together really nicely. There's going to be some rattly parts here and there, but nothing that bad. But where it counts, it's absolutely incredible, which is the driving. Passengers are not going to get it, but as a driver, you will. Would you rather buy a new Honda Accord or a used Porsche Macan? I think you know the answer. This is where the Macan is shockingly good. The engine transmission combo on this is excellent. It's got the famous Porsche PDK, incredibly quick shifts, and even though this isn't the fastest SUV in the world, 0 to 60 in about 5 seconds, the twin turbo V6 in this is strong, and matched with the PDK, this thing will feel plenty fast. Even though this isn't the quickest SUV in the world, the PDK does make it seem quick, especially if you're shifting yourself. The steering feel in this is excellent. It's really grippy with its all-wheel drive, responsive, and completely feels like a sports sedan. You want to throw this thing around turns? Go for it. It's very tough to throw this thing off balance. The 911, especially with the manual transmission, is as good as everybody says it is. 3.4 liter flat six engine in the back, an unparalleled driving experience. It's about as good as it gets. I have the base Carrera with 350 horsepower. I kind of wish I got the Carrera S or something a bit quicker. 0 to 60 in about 4.5 seconds. But whatever this car lacks in terms of speed is more than made up for the fact that this is a 7-speed manual transmission, and being able to shift makes a world of difference. But you're not buying the 911 to go to the drag strip, you're buying this to enjoy the turns, and when it comes to handling, few other cars can match the capabilities of a 911. And especially with the 2013 991 911, this is the kind of car that satisfies all the senses. Driving the 911 and Macan back-to-back is where you truly realize just how good the Macan is. It's still a driver's car, even though that's not what its purpose is, but you can't argue that Porsche really nailed the driving dynamics on the Macan. It's big, it's heavy, it's high off the ground, but still the handling is so good. Really smooth driving experience and really rewarding as a driver behind the wheel of the Macan. The Macan obviously doesn't drive like a two-door sports car. It's bigger, it's heavier. It is a grocery getter, which has got the driving aspects of it completely nailed down. And that's why this is the best-selling vehicle that Porsche makes, which I talked about in this video. It's so baffling that the Macans are as cheap as they are. You know you have a fantastic vehicle when you drive all kinds of cars, get back into a Macan, and still think that this is great. The 911 will always be a 911, but guess what? This cheap Macan does actually capture the essence of a true Porsche.